Welcome to the Conscious Fire Culture. We give you direct access to healers, practitioners, and shamans as we explore alternative medicine for wildland firefighters. The mission is to break the stigma of mental health in wildland fire and lower the suicide rates. Our intention is to guide you through a transformation that creates a ripple effect in our community. Welcome. I'm so excited you've made it. Alright, check this out. Mountain Mind Tricks and the Wildland Wellness Foundation are coming together for this amazing collaboration. This is going to be the most powerful thing to come to the wildland fire community in a long time, I think. And that is, master plant ceremonies mixed with holistic medicine, with acupuncture, chiropractors, the breakthrough session, all these things coming into one to support you, the wildland firefighter, to help you regain your mental health, your physical health, and get back to peak performance as soon as possible. Because when we work with master plants and essential oils and acupuncture and chiropractic and mental emotional release, when we put all these together, it is a powerful transformational experience that really it's beyond words. Because once you're touched by the divine, once you're in touch with that healing energy of the universe, with that innate power for you to heal yourself, there's no stopping it. It's like a runaway train. It's like you're gonna start healing. You're gonna have a transformation that has this ripple effect that goes beyond just you and your family, but to your crew, to your fire station, to your workstation, to your forest, to your region, to the community. And really what we want to do is give you the most amazing ceremonial experience and back that up with the integration. How do you take those experiences and come back to 3D reality and implement them? Implement those lessons, those realizations that are so deep and profound that your entire life changes. How do you integrate those? One of my great mentors once told me, it's like you get a puzzle and all the pieces are all spread out, but then you get to start putting that puzzle back together into a new way, a new possibility, a new way of being. And that's what the foundation is working on. The first retreat is the end of January of 2022. And if that's interesting to you, I want you to go to the wildlandwellnessfoundation.com. Check that out. And just schedule a call with Melissa and see if it's a good fit. Again, that's wildlandwellnessfoundation.com. The foundation of Mountain Mind Tricks is the breakthrough sessions for wildland firefighters. And it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my entire life, is to guide somebody through an awakening experience, remembering that they have the power to heal and giving them the tools to release the anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt from their past, and to truly release it, to let it go. When I see these transformations in my clients, it's like night and day. There's before the breakthrough session, and then there's after. And there's just so many times that their transformation touches me that I cry. Like it's so powerful and joyful to see that transformation inside them. And there's so many modalities out there. There is acupuncture and traditional therapy and plant medicine, but I love the breakthrough session. I think it's an amazing adjunct to all these other things, or even Western medicine. And the breakthrough session is so important to me because it's what changed my life. It's what allowed me to completely let go of my anxiety and to move forward and to become the healer that I am today, to start my own company, Mountain Mind Tricks. Like that's because of the breakthrough session. Without that, there wouldn't be any of this. And so if you're interested in a breakthrough session to really overcome the blocks in your life, to let it all go, to really step into your light and be who you know you could be, if you want that to happen for you, just go to mountainmindtricks.com, go ahead and click that button, Alternative Mental Health, scroll through there. If it looks like something you want, let's schedule a discovery session. Let's just chat about it. Let's have a talk to make sure it's a good fit. So again, go to mountainmindtricks.com and click the Alternative Mental Health button. Welcome everybody to the show. I'm so excited for my guest today, Ann Martin. She is an amazing master practitioner of NLP and hypnosis and mental emotional release. and we're really going to jam today on the breakthrough session, on what all that means and how we serve wildland firefighters. And could you introduce yourself to us? And I know we've done a podcast before last year, and maybe if you could just recap for us, like, how did you come into the personal development place, and how did you get to this place where you want to serve other wildland firefighters?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thank you, Thomas, for having me and allowing me to kind of share my thoughts and feelings and experiences. And I'm looking forward to it. So thank you. Um, my name is Ian Martin. I grew up in Colorado originally. I now live in Montana. When I was 21 years old, I became a cop and an EMT. And I did that for a few years. But after getting hurt and kind of losing my purpose after being lost in the system, I decided to jump into wildland fire. I started in 2012. I started as a logistics driver for an equipment company that did stuff for ICPs. I was also on a fuels crew, an engine crew, a Type 2IA crew, and then I just finished my last full season this year as a equipment manager for a private contractor. In 2017, I think it was, I ended up getting a traumatic brain injury on the job, and it was pretty severely mismanaged at the time that it had occurred, and then it was continuously mismanaged for the rest of that fire season because it happened during, it was like July, I think. Um, and I went back to my family at the end of that season. I got medically laid off because I was having so many issues with my physical and mental health at the end of that season. And I went back to talk to my family, and they cared enough about me to say something was wrong and something was off, even though I didn't really recognize it. And that's where I ended up seeing, I think it was like 6 or 7 different specialists to try and get myself back to like a state where I thought I was still responsible, like first responder at that point. So I was in and out of different kind of rehabilitations like occupational therapy and speech therapy and neurologist and neuropsychologist for like 2.5 years. Um, During that time, I learned a lot about just like mental health and neuroplasticity and how the brain works. I started working on myself a little bit more, trying to figure out how I could effectively go back to a job that I loved. Um, so I got into like regular counseling because that was a recommendation. I got into a little bit of hypnotherapy because I challenged myself and said, try something that scares you because I thought it was a bunch of BS. But the more therapies and the more alternative things I started to get into, the more I enjoyed it because I didn't want to be that person that saw doctors all the time and took meds every day. That was not something I was willing to do. So the more alternative therapies I looked into, the better I seemed to get and the more I seemed to learn and enjoy it. And I finally ended up finding NLP, I think it was last year, and ended up taking a regular practitioner course, and then just finished up my Master Practitioner course in NLP, mental emotional release, and hypnosis. So a lot of that has brought me to just being able to get through most of the things that have happened in my life. If I had not done a lot of this like personal development and really trying to research and put myself forward, some of the stuff I've encountered in the past couple of years, I wouldn't have been able to get through it, honestly, or have really, really poor maladaptive strategies to like deal with that. I had an alcohol problem at one point and I don't anymore. I don't rely on it. But if I hadn't tried to work with myself, I have a feeling that that would have been a big problem for me, or some other very nasty habits that kind of creep up on a lot of us. So I have really found a lot of value in a bunch of this work that we're doing, and I have a lot of not experience like everybody here listening has, but I have similar experiences that would allow me to kind of connect with a bunch of people. So
Oh, that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing and going in depth there with your story. And like, I really appreciate everything that you're talking about. And for everybody listening, like, you're joining the Mountain Mind Tricks team. Like, I'm so excited about this because there's gonna be another master practitioner, like, really focusing on wildland firefighter mental health. And I think I love this, that you came from kind of the skeptic attitude and you just kind of kept pushing yourself to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper into like the weird stuff, and it worked for you, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely had that like super duper ego for the longest time. That was I can push past anything. I had proved it to myself that I could work through really traumatic situations at my job, whether it was like rescuing people or doing medical work or going through deaths or shootings or whatever it was, and still just come out on the other side what I thought like totally fine. Like I can be calm and collected during these situations and do my job effectively. But then it was like a pile. We used to call it like my little box. You start shoving all those emotions and those traumatic experiences in a box, and it just keeps getting heavier and heavier, and you got to carry that around with you. And then finally one day it overflows, and you snap on somebody, and that's someplace I never want to visit. That's not something I don't want to do, and that's where a lot of the value of this work has been. Is my personal relationships have done so much better. My professional relationships have done so much better. I've come out as a leader and somebody that everyone wants to talk to, and this has just made such a big difference in my life just by kind of breaking down that stigma of just saying it's okay to work around, not taking pills all the time, doing some stuff that, Western medicine hasn't accepted for the past 100 years, something that might be a little bit different. And that's kind of my challenge for a lot of people is just try something you're uncomfortable with, because if things were as easy as just writing your goals down on the refrigerator and then having enough motivation to do it, you would have already done it. So
Right.
if you just open your mind up and get out of your comfort zone, your life will change for the better.
All right, check this out. Mountain Mind Tricks and the Wildland Wellness Foundation are coming together for this amazing collaboration. This is going to be the most powerful thing to come to the wildland fire community in a long time, I think. And that is, master plant ceremonies mixed with holistic medicine, with acupuncture, chiropractors, the breakthrough session, all these things coming into one to support you, the wildland firefighter, to help you regain your mental health, your physical health, and get back to peak performance as soon as possible. Because when we work with master plants and essential oils and acupuncture and chiropractic and mental emotional release, when we put all these together, it is a powerful transformational experience that really, it's beyond words. Because once you're touched by the divine, once you're in touch with that healing energy of the universe, with that innate power for you to heal yourself, there's no stopping it. It's like a runaway train. It's like you're gonna start healing. You're gonna have a transformation that has this ripple effect that goes beyond just you and your family, but to your crew, to your fire station, to your workstation, to your forest, to your region, to the community. And really what we want to do is give you the most amazing ceremonial experience and back that up with the integration. How do you take those experiences and come back to 3D reality and implement them? Implement those lessons, those realizations that are so deep and profound that your entire life changes. How do you integrate those? One of my great mentors once told me, it's like you get a puzzle and all the pieces are all spread out, but then you get to start putting that puzzle back together into a new way, a new possibility, a new way of being. And that's what the foundation is working on. The first retreat is the end of January of 2022. And if that's interesting to you, I want you to go to the wildlandwellnessfoundation.com. Check that out. And just schedule a call with Melissa and see if it's a good fit. Again, that's wildlandwellnessfoundation.com. I love that. I love the way you describe this like box where we just like keep putting stuff and we keep putting stuff and in the NLP world, we call this baggage, right? And we kind of have these black bags that are stored in our body. And it's like we just keep putting all these negative emotions or these, old patterns that are just running in the background. We just keep filling up those bags and they're just inside our body. And soon enough, there's either, like you said, this blow up or an illness or something that's going on inside the body that really is mental emotional, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just to touch on baggage, it's for me, baggage is like energy that's stuck in the body, and a lot of that is from like stuffing your emotions down and trying. Like in our first responder positions, you need to. You don't want a firefighter that shows up that's super freaked out. So you need to be able to put it aside for a little while you're working, but then to come back and acknowledge that, because everything we do, everything we see, everything we feel is all energy. Everything down to the smallest molecule on the entire planet, everything is energy, and everything is connected to each other. And if you don't end up dealing with some of that energy that you've tried to reroute, then you're going to start to have issues with it piling up somewhere that you don't want it to, which can also show up as like illnesses or chronic pain, something with your back, something with your arms, headaches, and kind of addressing those like deeper issues, which is what the breakthrough sessions do, is a way to get rid of all that pain and kind of boost your emotional and mental health, to even boost your immune system at that point.
Oh, I love that. I love this. I guess, can we like really break this down for folks that don't know what NLP is? Because I think we're just like assuming like, yeah, you know what NLP is, right? Because we're so into this, but it's like it's really that neuro-linguistic programming, and I think it sounds like a mouthful, right? But it's really that like neurological level in the languaging. I think the languaging is so amazing how the language affects all the images inside of our mind, right? So the language is like kind of everything along with the programming. And it's kind of, I would love to hear your idea on like how this NLP works, like at the basic level, kind of the foundation of this.
Sure. And I'm going to take a little bit of this from one of the books that one of our teachers and mentors wrote, Dr. Matt James. Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP, is basically just language and the modeling of like people that have displayed excellence. So neuro is something in the nervous system or the mind that allows us to process all of our experiences. Linguistic is language, as verbal and nonverbal communication. So anything like when you're talking to somebody, how you stand, how you breathe, where you look. And programming is basically all the patterns that are stuck in our neurological systems. So simply, it's basically all of our habits, the things that we feel, the things that we do, anything that has kind of impacted us on how we think, feel, and do our lives. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. And so, I think this is such a different way of going about mental health, because I think if we look at the CBT or the classic therapy model, it's kind of like if we change like our behavior, then we'll change our mind. And I guess this is more like everything has to change at the unconscious level, which is totally different, which means like you said, that you could put our goals on the fridge, but you're not going to do them unless your unconscious mind is in line with that. And it's like, how do we get that unconscious level programming different, changed, reframed in a new way that like really supports us, right? And I think that's the foundation of this stuff, right?
oh, absolutely. And I started with regular CBT through some of my therapies, and that was something that, they had scheduled out. You're going to go see a therapist twice a week for however many years until we feel like you're fixed. And that just wasn't working for me, because all it is just surface level talking about problems. And the big thing with NLP and breakthrough sessions is really getting to the root of that problem, because a lot of the things you do, you're not really thinking about during the day. Like you can drive to and from work and home and the grocery store and whatnot without thinking about it. So that's a habit. I'll get into a little bit of what we call strategies in NLP, and everything in your life that you do has a strategy. The way you brush your teeth, the way you get in your car, the way you have a relationship with your partner, the way you like do things at work. Every single thing you do has a strategy. And some of those are good strategies and some of those are bad strategies, but they're all run at that subconscious or unconscious mind level. So you don't have to think about it. And some of it's really good so that you can do things effectively and safely without having to put too much thought into them, so that you can also kind of multitask, especially at work, so you can like maximize your effort and keep everyone safe. But if you have these maladaptive patterns or habits that you don't want, something that you want to change, a lot of that has to go down to the root at that unconscious level. Because if you just consciously think about stuff, like I said, that goal that you put on the fridge is a very conscious level thing. Like, I think I want to do this, and I'm going to put it on the fridge or say all these affirmations, and it's not really working out for you. It's because that root, if you take weeds out of a garden, they're not going to go away unless you take the whole root out. The root is in your unconscious mind. So you have to kind of work through and find out how to address those problems there and figure out a best way to fix them. And that's exactly what a lot of the things that we do with NLP and breakthrough sessions does.
Oh, I love that. I love that analogy of the weeds because it's so true. And I think so many times we've tried in life to change something, but then it comes right back the next week or a month later. And it's just like, that's just not the case with this stuff because it's gone. And I think that's one of the hardest things for clients sometimes is to like, wait a minute, are you sure it's gone already? Like that was really fast. Like that was like 30 minutes of actual release work. It's totally gone. Like, yeah, it's totally gone. And they'll come back to me like a week later, like it's totally gone. I can't believe it. It's totally gone. Like I told you, and it doesn't come back. I've never seen it. The clinical studies showed that the stuff that you release doesn't come back. It's done. It's gone forever, which is so amazing.
It's really incredible what mental emotional release can do, because with my experience of it personally, because I have done breakthrough session, and it's literally like I changed my mind completely. And it wasn't like this big drastic change where all of a sudden I feel super motivated all the time and all I want to do is like go really hard towards my goal and just get it done right away. It was literally like my state changed. So I thought one way about one thing before the breakthrough session, and now I think about it completely differently, and it's completely for the better. Like, um, going towards work kind of thing. I used to be a fair procrastinator. Like, it wasn't as bad as like some students that would go through, or like the paperwork you should probably be signing and wait till the very last second. But it'd be like, oh, I could wait a couple more hours and just keep pushing stuff off and off. And I don't do that at all anymore. It's just something that I don't think or believe. It's just something that we got rid of very easily.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah. And I think like, I kind of want to go back to the root cause because I think this is so different. This is so different than any other modality that I know of. And of course, like, acupuncture, like there's just so many things like that that are more holistic. And I think they're aware of the root causes, right? But the way the breakthrough session, we call it a detailed personal history, but it's really like this like for me, sometimes it's like 3 or 4 hours of like really talking to the client. Maybe it's 2 hours, but really talking to them kind of like a therapy session, but like really going deep into like, okay, how does this problem like happen inside your mind? And we just keep like dissecting that and like going deeper and deeper and deeper. Like, what's the purpose of that? Until suddenly there's usually 3 or 4 beliefs that are so core to that person. And when we keep asking, like, what's the purpose of that? And why are you doing that? Like, how are you doing that? And like, keep going just a little bit deeper than that. There's this one singular belief that is kind of, and what I've noticed with clients, is that there's usually 3 or 4 beliefs that are kind of tricky, but then there's one that's like, if you word it perfectly, it's like that client gets shot in the heart. Like they completely break down and they melt. And it's like, that's it. That's the thing. And that one belief is like connecting all of this neurology in the body and all of these patterns and all these images and feelings and thoughts. And when we go into mental emotional release and pull that one thing out, and there's more to it than that, but when we pull that root cause out, the mental emotional release, it's like this cascade effect, all that stuff, all of that neurology that's connected, it's changed. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. The When I went into my breakthrough session, I had a background of NLP. I kind of knew what we were doing. I understood most of it, and I kind of knew what we'll call the root problem or the greater problem, whatever you'd like to call it. I kind of knew what that was going forward. But even as the practitioner that was working with me said it was definitely that feeling like you're kind of rocked to your core, like, yeah, that's the thing that's been holding me back, and it's been stuck beneath all these other things that we just spent 2 or 3 hours talking about. That's how far it was buried, and it's something that's like, yeah, that's been a part of me for a long time, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so for me when like I was hysterical when the person in Master Practitioner class got my root cause. I was pretty hysterical. Like there was even a couple instructors that were kind of like getting a little closer, like, well, you know, I mean, calm him down because it was like it was so big for me, and that's I don't I've never seen that with clients before, but that's just was my experience. Like it was so big for me that it was it just saying it out loud even was life changing, let alone releasing it. And I think that's like I don't know. There's just so many things that have happened to me in my life now of, you know, creating my own business, the podcast, writing books, like all these things, like that would have never happened without a breakthrough session. Like this tool just allowed me to exponentially change my life. It's amazing.
The breakthrough session is something that's completely life changing, and honestly, I'd recommend it for everybody. And part of me is sad because I can't like provide that service to my friends and family because I know them a little too well, and that's kind of my boundary where I won't work with them. But it's something that I'd seriously recommend because it changes the way you think about things, and we can kind of go into like a higher self or like the perfect version of you or the you that's 5-10 years in the future that has all the things that you want to have. They can look back at you and say, here's all the problems you had, and if you do this now, the change that you'll make between now and then is exponentially greater than you'd ever trying to do from that like conscious brain like we were talking about, just trying to like muscle through it, which is something that's very kind of stuck into our culture that, if you just power through everything, you'll be just fine. And I think if you ask for help when you need it, or really try and work on like how you can better yourself personally with something like a breakthrough session or setting different goals or trying to develop these different healthy habits, then you're going to be like the leader that you've always wanted to be. You're going to be that wife or husband that you've always wanted to be. You're going to show up in your life differently for people that really care about you. You're going to have a healthy body. A breakthrough session can touch on every single one of these aspects. It can help you make more money. It's something, it's just so deeply rooted in your unconscious mind that it completely changes your mindset.
Yeah, like I came up with this like kind of maybe 6 months after Master Prac, but I think it really is like going to the chiropractor for your mind because it literally is like you get adjusted. It literally adjusts your reality, and we can go deeper into like how we filter our reality, but um, that's the best way I can explain it in like the simplest terms that it's going to the chiropractor for your mind, right?
Yeah, everything you do is based on what you think and feel. So all your body functions are based on what you are feeling at the time, whether that's thoughts or emotions. And if you can kind of like adjust it and focus on things that you really want to focus on, then you're going to get exactly what you want.
Yeah, yeah, and
It
I
just
think
takes a little
that's
bit of work.
it's so interesting where a couple of practitioners that I've known from class for a couple of years still, and as we go deeper into more breakthrough sessions with clients and learn more, it's like this person specifically was telling me about this. Like, I think beliefs goes even deeper than they taught us. I think, and we're going to get a little metaphysical here, is that beliefs kind of are actually like the fabric of the universe. Like they're that strong, and that the human mind is that powerful to actually be creating our reality in a lot of ways. And it comes down to the beliefs, like what we believe. And there's so much science with like the placebo, right? And I think that really ties into like the placebo mind body connection stuff. But it's really like the beliefs are so much more powerful than uh, I think I'm still wrapping my mind around that. It is that important, right?
Oh, I agree. And I'm going to get a little deeper on that topic just real quick. And I'm going to throw out a kind of a challenge to some of the listeners is trying to kind of adopt this concept. And it's called perception is projection. And what that essentially means, it's an NLP term that means everything that you see, experience, and feel in the world is a reflection of you. And everything you see, feel, and do is a reflection of the outside world, which is then just like a conceptual mirror that just keeps going back and forth. So this essentially means that everything that you believe, all the values that you have, things that you care about and want, will show up as you're kind of doing life. So I kind of like the example that we went through when I did my Master Prac class was somebody that is accident prone. Somebody that labels himself as accident prone just gets hurt all the time, or trips, or is clumsy, whatever you want to call it. But it's actually part of because they have associated that label with themselves and kind of believe it like it's part of their identity almost, that they are going to, as they walk along during the daytime, kind of visually delete things that might be in the way. And it's not something that's their fault. It's just they've identified with that label so much that that's just who they believe they are. So that internal representation, that thing that you believe that you are, is now going into what you see and do on the outside. So it just kind of perpetuates and continues to happen.
The foundation of Mountain Mind Tricks is the breakthrough sessions for Wildland Firefighters, and it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my entire life, is to guide somebody through an awakening experience, remembering that they have the power to heal, and giving them the tools to release the anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt from their past, and to truly release it, to let it go. And when I see these transformations in my clients, it's like night and day. There's before the breakthrough session, and then there's after. And there's just so many times that their transformation touches me that I cry. Like it's so powerful and joyful to see that transformation inside them. And there's so many modalities out there. There is acupuncture and traditional therapy and plant medicine, but I love the breakthrough session. I think it's an amazing adjunct to all these other things, or even Western medicine. And the breakthrough session is so important to me because it's what changed my life. It's what allowed me to completely let go of my anxiety and to move forward and to become the healer that I am today, to start my own company, Mountain Mind Tricks. Like that's because of the breakthrough session. Without that, there wouldn't be any of this. And so if you're interested in a breakthrough session to really overcome the blocks in your life, to let it all go, to really step into your light and be who you know you could be, if you want that to happen for you, just go to mountainmindtricks.com, go ahead and click that button, Alternative Mental Health, scroll through there. If it looks like something you want, let's schedule a discovery session. Let's just chat about it. Let's have a talk to make sure it's a good fit. So again, go to mountainmindtricks.com and click the Alternative Mental Health button. Yeah, it is literally, the perceptionist projection is so powerful. And I think this isn't just something that we are talking about. Like there's a lot of science with quantum mechanics and psychology with this. And it is so interesting because, and of course the mystics and spirituality talked about this for thousands of years, is like what you're seeing is almost an illusion. Like it's basically our unconscious mind is bombarded with information. I mean, millions and millions of bits of information. And we have to filter that down into a coherent physical reality that's like decimal point percentages of that giant number, right? It's like 126 bits of information out of 20 million is what we're experiencing. And so this is huge. This is like a mind-bending idea that comes out of NLP that is so important because when we change our 126, like the breakthrough session does, like suddenly you literally are like, you're almost on a different timeline.
Yeah. I want to bring that up kind of into a relationship perspective too, because and I'm going to go kind of a little more PG with this, but if you say the word love between you and your partner, or you and somebody that you care about, whatever it is, and I ask you, both people, to give me 5 words that describe the word love. So you may come up with intimacy, heat, like adornment, whatever words that you want to come up with that describe love. The words that you come up with will probably be different than the words your partner come up with. You may have some similarities, but they're not all 5 going to be the same for the most part. I've never seen it happen when I've talked to people, but
right.
So that perception that you have of the same word that you're both talking about, your 126, the 126 bits that you're getting, kind of gives you that interpretation of that word, and their 126 is different than yours. So when you're talking about the word love, you're both thinking slightly different things, and that's something that you need to recognize with your partner or whoever you're trying to get along with. And then if you are coming into conflict with somebody, you kind of need to reevaluate how are you looking at this particular object or problem or thing that we want to do, and see where your values are. So the words that you come up with for love also have backing between your values and beliefs. So understanding where your partner or friend or whoever it is, where they're at with their levels of values and beliefs and interests, you can kind of combine or find out where the hardships are between the two of you.
Yeah, yeah. The relationship piece of this stuff. I've done some relationship coaching and boundaries and values and love languages. When we start putting this together in like a marriage that's in a tough place, like it's changing. It changes everything in the relationship because just getting on board with our values as a couple, and I think I want to tie this into like Wildland Fire. Like if we get on the same values as a crew, like it's just a game changer. It is a complete game changer, and I think this is the heart of 6 Minutes for Excellence. Is some of these ideas is like how do we bring this into Wildland Fire, because it is so like even the communication that we're talking about here is so important, and I love this idea of we can say the same words, but we have completely different pictures in our mind, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, we all have stuff that's similar, like stuff that we can agree on, like this is a chair or this is a Type 6 fire truck. But is it red? Is it blue? Is it white? Whatever color it is, everybody's got that little bit of difference. Even though we all come to like a similar conclusion, it's all still a little bit different. So if you can kind of get on the same page, if you open up and have communication with people and just be really honest about what you want, what things are going for, especially like in the preseason or in the shoulder seasons before stuff starts to get pretty crazy, you can develop a really effective line of communication between each other and really understand what you're talking about. And that, I think, will increase kind of the safety and the ability to just kind of keep track of each other.
Oh, that's so awesome. So I love that. And I kind of want to shift a little bit here, and I want to ask you about like how was Master Practitioner training? Like cuz it's a 2 week block of super, I mean it is super intense. Like it is probably the most intense 2 weeks of your life. That's just my guess. I don't know if that's really it was for me. And it's, yeah, it's like 10 to 12 hours sometimes. And then for 2 weeks straight. And it's so, I feel like there's so much information that it's like a lifetime of like processing what you just went through, right? Like I would love to hear your experience with Master Prac and like some of the more, there's mental emotional release, right? Like that technique is so big. That's how we move giant boulders. But there's other techniques that we have that are kind of they're so interesting and fast, and they change so much. Like the swish pattern, like prime concerns, like all parts integrations, all these things are super powerful, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to kind of dive down a small little rabbit hole. I'll start with if anyone is interested in any of these NLP techniques or information or what the heck it is, go ahead and contact either Thomas or I, and we can totally get way more in depth with this. But my experience with Master Prac was using a concept we call Hakalau that Dr. Matt James teaches, that's basically kind of a super receptive state where you try and take in as much information as you can, because that 126 bits that we were talking about earlier is what your conscious mind takes in. It's what your rational brain kind of works with and tries to figure out life on. You can get even more information. Your unconscious mind takes in almost all of the rest of that information. You're just not rationally or consciously getting it all. So what Hakalau does is it allows you to take in as much information as possible into the unconscious mind and kind of receive it, even though I wasn't consciously thinking about every single bit of information in the 2 weeks. I was still getting a majority of everything that was being said, experienced, everything that was going on. So I know it's all in my brain, even though I can't completely access it, but it was a long, long 2 weeks. I definitely went into it saying, oh, yeah, I'll have time to go out to dinner at night or go hang out in the pool, whatever. No, I was wiped. It was definitely a lot of work. Um, I'll get into a little bit. The first week was Master Practitioner of NLP, and the second week was Mental Emotional Release and Hypnosis. And I know hypnosis can kind of be kind of a touchy subject for people because the aspect is Well, that's, kind of woo woo stuff. It's totally fake. Somebody puts somebody else up on a stage and makes them fall asleep or quack like a duck, whatever it is. Hypnosis is something boiled down to you have different brainwave states. When you are waking and talking, how we're doing right now, you are in a beta brainwave state, which basically looks like a really fast little wave. The hypnosis state is taking advantage of an alpha wave state, and this is basically like a slower wave, and it's the similar state to when you go to the movie and you get so involved in the movie you kind of forget where you are, or you drive home and kind of forgot how you got there, or right before you go to sleep, or right before you fully wake up. It's kind of this not loopy state, but just kind of a state where you're still taking everything in, but you're not really thinking or processing every little bit. So, what hypnosis does is basically allows someone else to give you suggestions or talk to you in that state. So, everyone has been in this like alpha brainwave, what we call a trance state. Everyone's done it. You actually naturally kind of fall into that state every 90 minutes. And it's you can power through that. So, if you're working on the fire line, you can absolutely kind of override that a little bit, but then that energy kind of gets built up. But coming back to hypnosis, what you do is you get suggestions. A practitioner of hypnosis can effectively get you to give you really beneficial suggestions to where it's going to get you towards your goals or get you to do something that you want to do or to stop doing something that you don't want to do. So a lot of these smaller modalities can really break down, like you said, the MERs for big boulders and stuff, but there's a lot of really great things that just try and tie up the loose ends or get rid of little habits that you don't like. And it's been super beneficial for me. And I actually have a great trance voice, is what I have figured out from some of the people that I've worked with.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, and I think what's so interesting, just hearing you talk about this, I wanted to reaffirm, like, when I was in class and they were talking about the history of psychology and kind of where it came from, I didn't really realize before until the class was like, the foundation of psychology is actually hypnosis. Like, everything in the basis of psychology, like everything started from hypnosis, and modern psychology and CBT and medications, all that stuff actually branched out of hypnosis. Like, hypnosis was way before modern psychology, which is so interesting. And I think we are basically a walking alpha brain state from ages 0 to 7. Like, we're in hypnosis for the first 7 years of our lives, and that's where all our programming comes from. That's like basically where you download all of your apps for the rest of your life, right?
I love that transition that you just made too. Because yes, during those formative years, it's kind of that 0 to 7. You're just basically a gigantic sponge. You're figuring out. I like to call it. You're figuring out how to human. So basically, you're just taking everything in. You're starting to figure out how the world works, what your values are, what do, what do you not do, what things are important to you, what do you want, what do you not want. That's the time where, and I don't think your full beta, like active brainwaves come in until you're 10 or 12, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but basically you're just taking in everything. And that's why it's so great to really teach kids and to adapt good habits when you're young. But it's also kind of a recognition when you get older where a lot of your programming came from. And no, it's not anyone's fault for how you picked up any of this programming. It just happened how it happened. But then being the responsible adult is then, if there's something in there that you don't like, is doing something about it.
Yeah, and I think it's just, I love this modality so much because it really harnesses the power of the mind, and it's so interesting because, like, hypnosis, we can go deeper than alpha state. We can take you into a delta or even gamma state, which is super rare, right? But we can do that through hypnosis. And I think, like, in class when we did this, God, like, I never get the word right, but it's like catalepsy, I think, where they hypnotized each student to be like a plank, like you've probably seen on Instagram or whatever, like you're planking something, right? And it was like, when I was in that state, like, my body was so rigid, but it was like I felt asleep and I was so relaxed. I wasn't really doing it. And it was like the weirdest thing. And that's, of course, that's kind of, I guess, on the same vein as like stage hypnosis, right? Where all kind of that weirdness comes for a lot of people. but it proved to me in my mind, like, oh my God, hypnosis is so powerful. Like, it is one of the most powerful modalities, I think, in mental health, because we can basically go into that trance state. And I love what Dr. Matt does for his like perfect health meditation, which is hypnosis. Guided meditation is hypnosis. And he goes in and he teaches you like, hey, let's open this dial up. Let's go into the controls of your body, and let's get these dials. Let's turn up your immune system. Let's turn down your cholesterol. Let's turn up your metabolism. Let's start adjusting all the controls in your body. And guess what? It actually, like, your physiology changes, like literally changes, like very, very quickly. And that like really blows my mind.
I'll kind of break down the hypnosis a little bit too. I've tried like traditional like hypnotherapy with a like clinically approved social worker or therapist, whatever you call them. And it's a little bit different than kind of our modality of it, simply because kind of our goals are just slightly different. So their goal that I had experienced in the past, this is all from personal experience, I don't know if it's the same for everybody, was basically just to kind of get you in such a relaxed state that you can kind of dive back into some of the traumatic memories and then try and deal with them at that point. I personally didn't have the best experience with that. I can get into a story about that later, but the model of hypnosis that we use is basically trying to like reinstall new habits and thought patterns at the unconscious level, because your rational brain is not overthinking everything. The idea of hypnosis that we use is basically just turning off all those really critical thoughts from the conscious brain that say, yes, you can, no, you can't, all those really, ingrained habits that you have, or the like over rational, like, yes, this will work, no, this won't work because this one experience that I had, turning all that like extra chatter off, and then just saying, talking to that part of your body that has that perfect health, that has that idea of your higher self, or the future self of you that says, yeah, you can have all these things, and you're talking to that. And what you're trying to do is just remind it, or like refocus its goals and say, here's what's possible, here's what we want to do.
So the last couple of years I had to quit coffee because coffee was like this liquid shot of anxiety for me. Like, my heart would race. I could focus intently, but only for a couple hours, and I would crash super hard. And my sleep was so off. I mean, I would be wandering the universe until, 3 in the morning before I finally got to sleep. And then I had to get back at it at 6 or 7 in the morning. And I was groggy. I was tired. It just wasn't working for me. It's not that I was mad at coffee. I was just really disappointed. And so I ended up quitting coffee. And I've been searching for an alternative for a long time. And that's when I came across mud water. Mud water is this amazing, amazing tea. It's got masala chai in it. It's got cacao, lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, reishi, cinnamon, turmeric, and Himalayan sea salt. And what's so amazing is that you feel the same energy, that same burst that you get from coffee, but it sustains all day. There's no crash, there's no headache, there's no dehydration. It's just this beautiful experience. And so yeah, I'm gonna say it, fuck your coffee. You gotta switch over to mud water, because mud water will change your life. There's immune boosting properties, helps you focus with the lion's mane. There's 1/7 of the caffeine compared to coffee, and so there's no jitters, there's no anxiety. It's just this beautiful experience with beautiful plants. So fuck your coffee. So if you want to try out Mudwater, I want you to go to mountainmindtricks.com/mudwater, or go to the shop and click on the button. Again, that's mountainmindtricks.com/mudwater. So one of my favorite things about the Mudwater company is that they donate a percentage of their profits to the MAPS Institute. It's an organization that develops medical, legal, and cultural context for people to benefit from the careful uses of psychedelics. So the MDMA, psychedelic assisted therapy phase 3 trials, this is MAPS. And that's so important because there's been some amazing breakthroughs in the research with veterans and PTSD and depression and all sorts of amazing things that they're doing. It's so important to support this company. Oh, I love that so much. And I think this is why like when we combine this with the mental emotional release, right? Like the mental emotional release in my mind, and I've heard Dr. Matt say this, is that it clips neurology, right? Like we're actually changing neurology. And then when we stack the hypnosis on after the release work, now we're like rewiring the brain, right? Like we're installing new beliefs, installing new ways of being. It just stacks so well together. The MER and then hypnosis is so critical. Like it's so important. And I just like these, like I said before, it's just the power of the mind. It really shows you, and where it shows up, like is the mind body connection. And we could do a whole podcast on that because it is so profound and so deep. And like I remember in my course, and I don't know about you, Anne, but there was a ton of medical doctors, like clinical therapists, people that were like, my practice isn't working. I need something else. And I remember one of the students that were sitting next to me was like, yeah, I cannot wait to prescribe my client or my patients a breakthrough session instead of pain meds or besides this and that. And it's just like there is medical doctors doing this out there for like illnesses and diseases and really hardcore things inside the body. And there's been some amazing testimonials with that.
Oh, absolutely. And I have found people that say, they're letting some of their medical licenses lapse because this is so much more powerful than trying to get stuck in the like Western medicine portion of just trying to figure out what your problem is, throw some medication at you and try and make money in that system. I personally don't think it works very well. I haven't had very much success with it. I've been seeing doctors for almost a decade now for different reasons. And it's not that I don't trust it, because it's kind of the concept of if there's something wrong with your structure, like if you break a femur, that's a pretty big deal and you need to get that set. But then there's a lot more work that you can do other than just like opiates and sitting on your crutches all the time. There's a lot more work you can do mentally to get your body back to very good health, much faster than like the Western concept has.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. I love this modality so much. It's like obviously you can tell this is all I think about. This is all I do. This is like my jam, right? It's just so excited that we have another master practitioner like in our community, in the wildland fire world, and it floors me. I'm so excited you're here, and I think what are some of the other techniques in master prac that like really blew you away? Like we know MERs, like we could do a whole podcast on that. We probably should, but like what are other like techniques in that course that was just like, whoa, this is really, really fast and profound. And it really did make a difference like in your body.
So a lot of the techniques we used in NLP are very, very fast. So the reason I love these modalities so much is it takes like years or even decades of like regular counseling or CBT or therapy and condenses it into an 8-hour breakthrough session. And 8 hours may seem like a lot, but when you compare it to, a $100 therapy session every week, trust me, it's 100% worth it. But some of the modalities we use are something like a map across. Basically, you can get someone to not like a food that they used to like. And this is a test that they do in a regular NLP practitioner course. And it's something that I have tried on people and had 100% success with. And it happens in like 10 minutes, 11 minutes, maybe. And it's basically taking the patterns that you run in your mind and using what we call submodalities, or something that kind of you identify a picture in your mind with. So if I ask you to picture, we'll just go with the traditional blue elephant, and you picture a blue elephant, I want you to tell me if it's really close to you or really far away, if it's moving or if it's still. These are all different kind of like characteristics of this image that you have in your head. So we take the patterns and the characteristics of the image and we map it across to something that you really don't like. And in 10 minutes, I can get you to feel about that thing that you used to like the same way that you feel about the thing that you don't like. So now you don't like that food. We've had it with ice cream. We've had it with chicken fingers. We've had it with coffee. I've done quite a few of these, and it's always kind of like my trick to get people interested in it because it works so well.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is really, we got to tell a story of Dr. Tanaka, and I'm sure Dr. Matt told this story in class, but basically He was an addictions counselor, I believe. I don't know his exact title before he went to NLP, but basically he used this map across for heroin addicts, right? And so these heroin addicts, they stopped using heroin with just this 10-minute map across. And actually, what's so amazing is that the drug addicts learn how to do it just because they're like, oh, I think I can do this to one of my friends, right? And all of a sudden, there's like this huge population of ex heroin addicts that they were stopped using, to the point where like the police got involved and we're like, this is like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're doing SMDs. Like, yeah, we got off heroin doing SMDs. And the cops were like, we got to find, what is this SMDs? It was submodalities. That's what they were doing. They're using the map across to get off heroin. And sure enough, like the city that this happened in, like actually took the time out to like really find Dr. Tanaka, like back in Japan, and like awarded him this medal for like, you actually like lowered the heroin use in this city by like some crazy like 20% or whatever it was, simply by this map across technique. And that's like basic 101 in LP. It's like, and I remember in class, like, yeah, like I can't remember what I mapped across, but it was just like I was gagging. Like I liked it before and now I'm gagging. And it's just like, yes, this is so awesome. And there's other things like allergies. We can literally delete allergies. Like I've seen that happen in class. And then I think the big one that is like that blew me away more than anything was like the phobia, like deleting a phobia, because I think the Western way is like, well, a phobia is lifelong, like you'll never get rid of that, this and that. And it's just like, we could probably delete a phobia in like 30 minutes or less and it's gone. Like the people I've seen go through that, like they're hysterical 1 second about even thinking about this, and the next second they're holding it. Like a needle. There's a person that was so terrified of needles, like they were hysterical. Like they would, like, and I mean really, really hysterical. Like they would go jump off a cliff hysterical to avoid a needle. And within 15 to 20 minutes, they're holding a needle in their hands and laughing and poking themselves. And it's like, what?
I've had some pretty incredible experiences with the phobia. I have personally done a couple that have worked really well. I've done spiders and snakes. And one of our demos that we saw in class was somebody with a needle as well. And she was hyperventilating, about ready to pass out when she was just talking about it. And then, of course, we put a picture of one up and she about passed out. So we did this release with her, and it was like 2 weeks later, she ended up getting in an accident with a horse where she had to go to the hospital and get it was either pain meds or something else, where she had needles had to be stuck in her. And she's like, it wasn't even a problem for me. I stared at it. It was no big deal at all. So this stuff really, really works. I haven't had any mal success. I haven't had with one of the snake phobias that I got rid of. It didn't go away like completely. Like this person, like at the mention of a snake, would run. She's not a runner, but she would run. And it's not like she's going to go pick one up now, but it doesn't scare her. She can just look at it and be totally fine with it.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And there's just so much like Master Prac is just 2 weeks of like your mind getting blown apart. Like every section of the class, every single day is your mind getting blown apart with these ideas of like, wait a minute, the mind is so powerful. We can literally change everything. We can change our state. We can change what we believe. We can change our health. We can change, you know, everything. And I think the reason why and how this connects to Wildland Fire is that I think it's some of these concepts are so altering of like communication, of like how we work together. There's so much power behind this stuff that I think, and this is why I wrote 6 Minutes for Excellence, is like we got to get these concepts into the Wildland Fire community, because it could literally take us from like, yeah, Wildland Fire is kind of like cool, like it's kind of on the stage now nationally, to like, no, we're like showing the military how to do this. That's literally how far we could take like learning to be leaders and like being an example of excellence, like beyond the military, because like if we use these things, like it is a model for excellence in everything that we do. And that's just my belief, is like if we adopted this like in a lot wider way, some of these concepts, it's that powerful.
Oh, yeah. And I'll jump into modeling here real quick because it's something that we teach on like how to really do it effectively and like delve down really into like the nitty-gritty process of it, but anybody can do modeling. So I'll say just a couple of things. If you want to model somebody or something, you need to find a model of excellence. So if you want to model like your mom on how well she bakes cookies, and you love your mom and she's the most amazing person and she's just wonderful and she's great and you love her, but her baking is not that great, don't model your mother. Go find someone else that can effectively bake cookies and that will make that recipe like the best. So you're going to model a picture of excellence. So if you want on the fire line, maybe this engine boss is somebody that you really appreciate and you look up to, but they have some really bad habits that you don't really appreciate. Don't model them either. You can still appreciate them for who they are, but you can also find something else that you want to model that looks just the way that you want to use it. As you're picking up this modeling, go ahead and talk to this person and plan some time to talk to them. Start from the beginning and ask them how they do the process that you want to model. So say it's like running the pump really effectively. What goes through their mind before they even start it? What goes through their mind before they pick it up? Why are they picking it up? What fuel do you put in it? Why do you put it? So ask what and why a lot, but make sure you do it in order. Ask them how they feel. Ask them why they do things. You'll find stuff that's critical. We call them critical steps, things that you must do in order to get the outcome that you want. And there's stuff that we call idiosyncratic, or stuff that's they do, but it's not necessary to get the exact same result. So as you kind of go through all the steps and figure out what you need to do and what you don't, make sure you're getting specific, make sure you get like the physical actions that they do, and make sure you get some of the emotions behind it as well. Because how they feel about what they're doing also has an impact on the outcome that it brings. So you can model anybody that you want. Just make sure you take the time and really get down deep into the actions that they're taking while you're talking to them.
Oh, it's so critical. And I think where this really stuck in my mind when I was learning about this was like, okay, I'm in a trainee position, right? And I'm task force or engine boss or crew boss or squad boss, whatever my position is as a trainee. It's like, you could literally model your trainer. And I think the big thing is you got to ask permission, because like you said, you're going to ask what and why, like a lot. But you could also be kind of sneaky and do this. But the same thing is like, if we modeled our trainers in Wildland Fire, how much more quickly would we become that really confident, qualified in that next level? And I think this is something like I really hope the Wildland Fire community starts to adopt even more. Is like, it's not just I'm a trainee and you're a trainer. I'm going to go off and be in the woods and you can just run the crew. It's like, no. We need to like model you. So that means you have to show me, I have to like see how you do it. And then I get to do it myself, and also like modeling this whole process that you're talking about. And it's like, that's on a whole different level. And to me, I really think you could get somebody from an A faller to like a C faller in one season. And that's insane. Like that is like, people think I'm crazy for saying that, but I think that's possible with modeling.
It is totally possible, and the appropriate amount of like opportunities to cut trees. But I'll also just throw in too that you can model more than one person. You can still model like 2 or 3, 4 or 5 of the people that you think are the most effective and really good at what you want to do, and start compiling and see where things are similar and see where things are different. Keep asking questions. The way you're going to get better is by asking questions and doing stuff. So make sure that you're still getting involved and making that choice to be better, but make sure you're poking the brains of people that you really want to idolize.
I want to guide you through natural wellness and holistic medicine, which means using products like essential oils, essential vibes, glutathione mouthwashes, or even reading books. There's so many products out there that can help us, supplements, essential oils. There's so many things about the doTERRA lines of essential oils that I use every day, like lemon to detox my body and help me hydrate, like On Guard to give me that extra edge, my immune system with the pandemic going, balance to keep me grounded and moving forward in my life. I use the oils every single day, morning, afternoon, night. One of the biggest things they help me with is sleep. I sleep so well because I'll lay on the lavender, I'll lay on the balance, I'll feel so grounded and sleepy, and it's lights out. And I know the Wildland Fire community just struggles so much with sleep, really the lack of it, right? On top of that, there's books. I've written 3 major books for the Wildland Fire community, and I want you to try them out. Give them a read. Get the ebook, get the paperback, whatever suits you. But there's Overcome Anxiety Like a Hero, really teaches you how to get into a flow state. Awakened by Heartfire is really the spiritual aspects of Wildland Fire, and the Heartfire anthology, the guided meditations, the Heartfire method will completely change your life. And of course, 6 Minutes for Excellence. That is a guidebook for wildland firefighter excellence, peak performance, mindset, all those things. So go to mountainmindtricks.com, check out the store, check out essential oils, essential vibes, go to the publishing tab, check out the books. Natural wellness is all about taking one step today that makes us 1% better. 1% better today, 1% better tomorrow, and 1% better the next day and the next day. One little habit adds up to moving an entire mountain with our health. That's what I want to guide you through. The essential oils, essential vibes, books, supplements, whatever you need, I'm here for you. So just go ahead and go to mountainmindtricks.com and click on the shop and go to essential oils, essential vibes, or go to the publishing tab and check out the books we've got. So, and I want to really shift here, and there's a topic in here that it connects to mind-body connection, and it's this newer science that is out here that's called epigenetics, and I'm sure you talked about it in class, but it's really like, and Bruce Lipton is the father of this stuff, and I really didn't realize that Bruce Lipton and Dr. Matt actually worked together quite a bit when he had a university in Hawaii, and one of the amazing things is that this new science is really showing at the scientific level, at like our cellular biology, that our thoughts, our feelings, what we eat, like how we sleep, affects all of this chemistry inside of our body. And then that chemistry actually affects our DNA and what genes are expressed and like how healthy we are. And basically it's like this, our thoughts and beliefs really control this like inner chemist inside of our body. And this is how powerful this stuff is that we're potentially changing the way your genes are expressed. We're changing the way your cellular biology is processing. And this is how deep this stuff goes and how powerful the mind is, right? And I'm curious on your thoughts on this.
I love all the sciencey stuff like neuroplasticity and epigenetics and stuff. My understanding of kind of how the DNA works is every single cell in your body understands and has a copy of your perfect health inside of your DNA. It understands what your healthy body should like look and feel like, how it's supposed to function, what you should feed it, how the immune system works. It understands what all those are, and some of those habits that you have kind of altered, like what we called, the internal representation earlier. The stuff that you do and feel and the behaviors you picked up when you were young all alter like how your genes and cells are functioning. Energy and environment are the two main aspects that affect your cells in your body. So if you can kind of change those to get them to understand and replicate kind of that perfect health gene, then you're going to have like a much healthier body. You're going to have a better understanding of yourself. You're going to project things that are good about you. There's some science in that we understand only 10% of what our DNA is. Some people say it's more, but from my understanding, we only understand about 10% of what our DNA is, and the other 90% is not fully explainable by science, because what I believe is that it is part of that internal representation of this is how I think, feel, believe, and do, and that's what's kind of projecting onto my DNA and my cells as well. So epigenetics to me is basically how your behaviors and environment and your energy changes the way that your genes work. So if you are able, especially with like a breakthrough session, to go down deep into the unconscious and change how you use energy, change how you believe and think, change what you do, then it changes how your DNA and immune system functions.
It's
Um,
so amazing. It is like it's just it makes me just so excited because it's like it's literally medicine. Like, and I know that's like a really like scary word like as a holistic practitioner, but it's like I'm thinking more of like a it's like big medicine, right? As the natives would call it. Like it really is. It really is big medicine, isn't it?
oh yeah, and there's nothing that's going to like change your DNA physically. It's already in there. It's already developed. You're not going to do anything to it, but you can change the things that influence it. Like I said, energy is a big thing, and everything is energy. A thought is energy because, like we talked about with the neural pathways on creating them, and that's kind of like neuroplasticity. Like I'm a walking example of neuroplasticity. After I got my TBI, I had to like relearn how to make new neural pathways to walk in a straight line, to communicate the way I wanted to have the like hand-eye coordination that I used to. I had to rebuild all of these neural connections that got kind of messed up when I hit my head. So the way that all these things happen is I think there's 7 billion atoms in your body, and each one of those has a connection somewhere to something in your body that also reflects what's going on outside. So when you're out in the sunshine, you feel the warmth, the energy kind of comes in through you, and your body utilizes the energy that the sun gives. Everything has an aspect on how your cells and functions work. And if you utilize that appropriately, you will be a much healthier and effective person.
Wow. I love that explanation. Thank you so much. It's so important. And I think there's so many there's so many books that just talk about all this. Like I think maybe I'll add a book list to this podcast to the notes and just add a couple books like the Biology Belief, Bruce Lipton. Like he is that book. If you're really into science and want to like know more of the science, like that book really goes into detail in the actual cellular biology scientifically of how all this works. And it's interesting how he ties that into conscious parenting and how this chemistry inside of our body changes our environment, and I think that's a good. I think it's a really good segue into like when we do a breakthrough session, like we are changing the way we're thinking, but the most important part, and I mean the most important part, is like the homework, the routine, the habits that we're creating to move towards these goals that we set up. Because part of the breakthrough session is getting these goals and then the action and focus. So it's not like the breakthrough session is this magic bullet. It's what the magic bullet is actually taking the action and focusing. And it's not just focusing like, I'm going to do a meditation today. I'm going to do this and that. It's like, no, you got to focus on your thoughts and you have to say, no, I'm in control and I'm choosing this thought. And once you do that for like 6 weeks or a couple months, like 3 months after the breakthrough session, like you've completely rewired your brain. And I think this is the different model that we're talking about here is that, look, like you said earlier, like, we're going to prescribe you're going to go see a therapist for 6 months, twice a week, and this and that. And it's like my practice and my clients are like, I don't want to see you for more than like probably 6 follow-ups, 6 to 12 maximum. So 3 months. And I don't ever want you in my practice again, like unless we're working on something different, and that's totally okay. But that's the idea is like I want you to have tools to keep going, to heal yourself. And I think this is a completely different idea than the old model, right?
Oh, absolutely. The old model is just it's part of that like money making strategy of people that just want to have you in their practice all the time. They keep seeing you, keep making money off you. The way that we run our practices, and now that I'm working with Mountain Mind Tricks, and I want to make sure everybody understands this. Thomas and I both offer coaching. We both offer breakthrough sessions and support afterwards. So if you are interested in any of this, please go through the show notes and give us bring us up on some of our contacts or social medias. But the idea is for us to run through this breakthrough session and then give you the follow up that you need to see the changes that you're interested in. And then we want to send you on your way and get you living the life that you want. The things that we want are not money from you. We want to see the change that you can make to be yourself and do the things that you want to do. And then maybe you can go change some other people's lives with your new like mentalities and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so here's the thing is like when my clients sign an agreement and I'm like there's this client agreement, right? And the very bottom of the agreement there's a whole guarantee section. It's like I am confident that like if like the stuff that we work on in the breakthrough session, like I guarantee you that that's going to change. Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, I will literally give your money back if it doesn't. I've never done that because it happens every single time. And it's like this technique, these breakthrough sessions, they work every single time, like every single time. And it's, they've got to be a good client. Like, that's part of it. But the other piece of it is like the technique is that powerful.
I'll kind of jump into this too. That I've never seen a breakthrough session not work ever. It's
Yeah, it's
like
so
you
true.
said, it's 100% effective getting change somewhere. The thing I'll touch on is something that's very important that we hound on in our breakthrough sessions, and something that kind of may be an eye opener for some people that are thinking about a breakthrough session or thinking about coaching, whatever they're thinking about. There are 4 requisites for lasting and positive change, and this is very important. You have to get all 4 steps. You can't skip any. You can't like half-ass one. Number 1 is getting rid of negative emotions, limiting decisions, and baggage, which is what a breakthrough session is. It's releasing all the things that are holding you back. Like I said, the things that probably keep you from when you put your goals up on the refrigerator and not do them, those things. Number 2 is create the future and setting goals. So you're going to create a very clear target and a clear SMART goal, and we can go into SMART goals and what we do. There's also something that we do we call creating an avatar, so putting all these goals out in the future and creating the person that you want to be. Number 3 is taking action. This is usually the hardest part, the most involved part, and it's all on you. Granted, if you do a breakthrough session with us, we're going to give you every bit of support that we can. And if you come into something that's really difficult, we will absolutely help you with it. But a lot of this is going to be now that you have this great new mindset, that you've got rid of all that baggage that once was holding you back, this action becomes a lot easier and a lot clearer. This also includes setting boundaries, though, things that you won't do, things that are like, I will do this up until this point, and reinforcing those as well. The 4th thing is maintaining focus on what you want. So part of it is knowing what you want, which you should have gotten in the breakthrough session. And the other part is staying focused. And that's kind of where we come in as far as like helping you stay focused. But part of it is just having those really good boundaries and really clear targets on your action and just following through with it.
Oh, I love that, and so much. Thank you for hitting the 4 requisites, because it's like, it's critical. Like, this is how we change our mind, body, spirit, is the 4 requisites. And I think something to me is like the homework is so important. Like you're saying, the focus and taking action, it is like the most critical piece of it all. Because like you said, it's you have to take the action. And of course, as a practitioner, we're going to support you. That's why there's follow-ups. That's why we're like, we want to guide you through setting that boundary with that really hard person or whatever it is that your homework. Sometimes the homework is like, ooh, kind of hardcore. Like, yeah, you have to leave that relationship or you have to quit that job. And it's like, that's the homework. I didn't give you that. Like, spirit gave you that. Like, that's not me. I'm not making you do that. That's like, your highest self told me that. And it's like, I'm sorry, but that's like, sometimes it's that big. It's very rare that it's that big, but it can happen. And I think one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of clients is that after the breakthrough session, something kind of big happens in their life. Like something big enough to where like physically they have to alter like some major piece of their life, where it's like, oh, like I lost my job, or maybe it's like something happened where they are forced to change their environment. And it's like, I really think it's the energy of the breakthrough session coming into their life and like making stuff happen. It's really, really interesting. And it seems like really, really common that the universe is going to show up for you and like force you to take the action.
I'll bring kind of that energy concept back into it. It's if you have something, number 1, there is a lot of energy worked through in these breakthrough sessions. So you are going to feel different after the breakthrough sessions, whether it's good, bad, a lot of energy, tired, excited, whatever it is. But in doing some of those homework steps, whether it's big or small, a lot of that energy is just going to get transformed because you're not creating or destroying energy. So if you do something like leave that relationship or do something really big in your life, it's going to come back with that much more energy because you're just transforming it. It's just going to come up in a different way.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing, is we're transforming this baggage, this, absence of light inside your body into healing golden, like divine light. And that's like really the spiritual aspect of it. Like there's a lot more going on than just the mental emotion release, especially, when you bring some Huna stuff into it, the Hawaiian shamanism, like there's a lot more going on that's similar to Reiki, I would say. Like that's kind of, this is very combined because there's so much energy happening. Like I've seen clients, like they're like shaking when they release things, like almost they're releasing energy out of their body, or sometimes I have to clear entities out of people's bodies, or things like this that are happening during the breakthrough session. So it's really interesting how much energy really comes into this.
Oh, absolutely. I've had an experience too with after one of the big sessions that I've done in the past is it wasn't a particular breakthrough session. It was something else that I had done prior to really delving into NLP, but it was something so emotionally big for me and something that I released and was able to work through that I did that same thing. And it was kind of like a whole body like shiver almost. And it was trying to process all that energy that I had just worked through. And that's actually something that um, animals do in the wild. It's something that's very natural that if an antelope or a deer gets chased by a predator, they're going to run for their life. And once they understand that they are safe enough and they don't need to run anymore, they will actually physically shake to then discharge a lot of that energy and then just go back to doing what they want to do.
Hmm.
Us humans will actually store that energy, like I said, stuff it down in that box and hold on to it because we have a rational brain that thinks it needs to hang on to that and it's not serving you in any way. So if there's a way that you can kind of break that down and deal with it and understand it and figure out how to use it, man, you'll be able to do a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. What an amazing conversation. And and like, how can people find you, and how can they get a hold of you to reach out, and feel free to just take a moment and just let people know like how you want to serve the wildland fire community and what you're doing with Mountain Mind Tricks and all that stuff, and where can we find you?
Of course, thanks. So I'm still doing a bunch of other training, so I will be much more available in the coming months into next year as well. So I will have a page up on Mountain Mind Tricks if you'd like to reach me there. I also am very responsive on Instagram. My tag is EliteFire1507. It's got some fire stuff on there, but I also have a building coaching practice that's allowing me to get a lot more certifications, a lot more experience. So the coaching that you'll get now is amazing and it'll only get better. So I offer breakthrough sessions just like Thomas does. If you want more information, go ahead and contact me on one of those pages. But I also offer some follow-up coaching in addition to those breakthrough sessions if you want just career health, fitness coaching, stuff like that as well. So
Oh, that's so awesome. And so, there's a lot of stuff that's building behind Mountain Mind Tricks. We got the group coaching program now that you're co-instructing, and
mhm.
you're going to be helping with the podcast quite a bit. Like, you're really going to be coming into the Mountain Mind Tricks. Like, I just want to say thank you so much for like um, just assisting me with this amazing mission and this goal of helping wildland firefighters with their mental health. And it's such a powerful time for wildland firefighters, I think, because Congress is listening, and there's a lot of other people like the Wellness Foundation and Mountain Mind Tricks and Fire Mind and all these other things that are popping up. They're like, there's so much out there to support you. There's so many things that can support the wildland firefighter right now, and I just want to say, if you need help, like, please reach out to me or Ann or whoever. Just reach out, because there's a lot of resources to help you release the energy that's holding you back.
Yeah, and I'll say too that Thomas and I both have a lot of experience and have a fair number of certifications and things that we know that work. But if for some reason that you're not interested, it's too expensive, it's too much time, I'm going to tell you that a breakthrough session will fix those feelings. But if for some reason we can't get you what you want, we'll find somebody that can. We have a lot of connections in the community. We are completely here to support you in every way that we can.
Yeah, and absolutely. And like, folks with like really complex PTSD or cancer diagnosis, like that stuff, we're going to refer you out to like a practitioner that does breakthrough sessions, but they're also a medical doctor or a clinical psychologist. And they're probably going to have to be a HUNA level 4. Like that, like we have a army of master practitioners that are kind of in this arena with the empowerment partnership. And it's just like, if we can't help you for some reason, like we'll send you somebody that's going to help you. So yeah, I love that. I love that. And thank you so much. And And we're hitting time here pretty hard. I have another podcast coming up, but I just want to say again, Anne, thank you so much for being here. What an amazing conversation. And I really hope that we helped break this down just a little bit into some easier bite-sized chunks for people to understand what the breakthrough session is, what it does, how it works. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot more conversations, a lot more podcasts on this, because we literally just hit like the very, very surface level of some of this stuff, because we could go forever on this, couldn't we?
Oh yeah, we just skimmed the pond.
Yeah, which is so amazing. So, Anne, any last thoughts before we go?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, if anyone has anything that they are interested in or want to learn more about, I love teaching. I love talking about things that I'm passionate about. If you want to just BS about some fire stories, please contact either one of us. I love teaching. I'd love to talk to you. So go ahead and leave us a message.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it.
Yeah.